Maya had always been the kind of person who showed up early and stayed late. At a mid-sized marketing company where she worked, she earned a reputation as someone reliable and creative. Her ideas helped win important clients, and her careful attention to detail made her projects run smoothly. People often said she had a bright future ahead. Despite all her hard work, Maya sometimes felt like she was invisible when it came to moving up. The company was mostly run by men, and though many admired her work, she noticed how the higher positions often went to her male coworkers. It wasn't because she lacked skill, far from it. But there was a quiet, invisible wall she couldn't break through. Her boss, Mr. Carter, was known for being strict but fair. Yet Maya sensed that his view of her wasn't the same as others. Sometimes, in meetings or casual talks, she overheard comments about how she was too emotional or not tough enough. Those words stung, but she kept pushing forward. She believed her work would speak for itself. Now a big promotion was opening up. Maya was one of the top candidates. She hoped this time, things would finally change. But deep down she worried the old bias might hold her back once again. The company where Maya worked was a place stuck in old ways. Most of the leadership were men who had been there for years, and they liked things to stay the same. Change made them uncomfortable. Meetings were often dominated by loud voices, and new ideas sometimes got lost in the noise, especially when they came from women. Maya had been with the company for 5 years. Over that time, she had taken on some of the toughest projects. One year, when a major client was about to leave, Maya stepped up and led her team to fix the problems. She stayed late for weeks, working with her team and the client until everything was back on track. That effort saved the company a lot of money and earned praise from many people inside and outside the company. Her co-workers respected her, and some even came to her for advice. Clients often mentioned how well Maya communicated and handled their concerns. But when it came to leadership roles, she noticed a different story. Those positions rarely went to women, and even though she had the experience, Maya was often passed over. Mr. Carter, her boss, was a man who liked to keep control. He was known as tough but fair, the kind of leader who didn't tolerate mistakes. On paper, he valued hard work and results. But in private conversations, he sometimes made comments that made Maya uncomfortable. Once, during a meeting, he told a male colleague that Maya was a bit too emotional for the pressures of leading a big team. The words were quiet but clear. At times, Maya overheard other managers joking that she needed to toughen up if she wanted to be promoted. It wasn't direct, but it was enough to remind her that bias was alive and well. With the promotion coming up soon, Maya felt the weight of those unspoken doubts. She wondered if this time, her hard work would finally be enough, or if the old biases would keep standing in her way. The day the company announced the open leadership position, Maya's heart raced with hope. This role was exactly the kind of chance she had been waiting for. It wasn't just a step up for her career, it was proof that her hard work might finally be recognized. When the news came, her colleagues whispered quietly. Many expected Maya to be a strong candidate. After all, she had the experience, the results, and the respect. Maya spent the next few weeks preparing. She studied every detail of the job, reviewed past projects, and practiced answering questions she might face. She wanted to show them that she was ready, that she could handle the pressure. Each night, she imagined standing in front of the team as a leader, confident and respected. The day of the final interview came. Maya walked into the conference room, steady but nervous. Mr. Carter was there, along with a few other managers. The questions started off normal. Her goals, how she would handle challenges, and her vision for the team. Maya answered honestly and clearly. But then near the end, Mr. Carter's tone shifted. He leaned forward and said, "Maya, you're a talented worker. But honestly, I think you're too emotional for this position. Leading a team means being tough, making hard decisions without letting feelings get in the way. I don't think you're the right fit." The words hit her like a cold wave. Shock and hurt filled her chest. For a moment she wanted to argue back. But instead, she stayed calm. She nodded quietly, trying to hold back the tears she didn't want anyone to see. Outside the room, whispers began. Some co-workers looked away, uncomfortable. Others gave her small sympathetic glances. A few stayed silent, unsure what to say. The atmosphere felt heavy with unspoken tension. Later, Maya sat at her desk, replaying the moment over and over. She thought about all the late nights, the clients she had helped, the crises she had managed. How could her emotions be a problem, when those same feelings were what made her care so much? The rejection felt unfair, but Maya refused to let it break her. Instead, it lit a fire inside. She decided she wouldn't just prove Mr. Carter wrong, she would show everyone that strength didn't mean shutting down emotions. She would keep working harder, not just for herself, but for every woman who had ever been told she was too emotional to lead. This was far from over. After the rejection, Maya's world felt heavier. The frustration built up inside her like a storm. She kept asking herself why. Why did all her hard work still come second to old ideas about what a leader should be? The words "too emotional" echoed in her mind, making her doubt herself in ways she hadn't before. It was painful to feel strong one moment and weak the next. But beneath the sadness, something quiet and steady grew. Maya wasn't alone. A few close colleagues reached out to her. One was Jenna, a longtime friend and teammate who had seen firsthand how much Maya gave to the company. "You don't deserve this," Jenna said one afternoon over coffee. "They just don't see what you bring to the table." Then there was Mr. Lee, a senior manager, who had been like a mentor. He had always encouraged Maya to speak up and trust her instincts. "This isn't about you," he told her. "It's about a system stuck in old ways. You're not just fighting for a promotion, you're fighting for fairness." At home, Maya felt the weight of the day's battles. The doubts crept into her personal life, making her second-guess small things she'd never worried about before. But she also found strength in moments with her family and friends who reminded her who she was beyond the office walls. Maya realized the problem wasn't just her boss or this one company. It was a bigger issue. A pattern that many women faced in workplaces everywhere. Women were judged by emotions seen as weaknesses, while men were praised for the same feelings as strength. The invisible rules kept women from rising even when they were ready. With this clarity, Maya made a quiet promise to herself. She would keep pushing, not just for her own chance, but to open the door wider for others like her. She began gathering stories from women around the office who had faced similar struggles. She planned to speak up at the right time, to make the company listen. Maya's fight was no longer just about a job title, it was about changing the story for every woman who deserved to be heard. The quiet ripple that started with Maya's rejection soon turned into a wave that reached the highest levels of the company. Rumors spread that some employees had complained to the board about unfair treatment during the promotion process. A whistleblower, someone from inside the company, had stepped forward with proof of bias and questionable comments made by Mr. Carter. The board couldn't ignore it any longer. A special meeting was called to review the promotion decision. Maya wasn't sure what to expect. Part of her hoped for justice, but another part feared the old guard would protect their own. The tension in the air was thick as the board members gathered around the long polished table in a glass-walled conference room. Carter sat at the head of the table, his usual confident posture slightly shaken. When asked to explain his decision, he didn't hesitate. "Maya is a capable employee," he said. "But this position demands a leader who can stay objective under pressure. I believe she is too emotional to handle the role effectively." A few board members exchanged uneasy glances. One of them, a woman who had joined the board recently, leaned forward and said, "Mr. Carter, could you clarify what you mean by too emotional? Are you suggesting that emotional responses make someone less capable?" Mr. Carter faltered for a moment, but then defended his stance. "In leadership, decisions must be made without hesitation or sentiment. Emotional reactions can cloud judgment." The board didn't let the conversation end there. They requested to see Maya's performance reviews, client feedback, and the results from her projects. As the data unfolded, the evidence was clear. Maya had consistently exceeded expectations. Her leadership in crisis situations had saved contracts. Her team's productivity was among the highest. One board member spoke up. "It seems Maya has demonstrated the skills and results required. The issue appears to be personal bias." The atmosphere grew heavier as more members voiced concerns about the outdated mindset behind Mr. Carter's comments. "We must reconsider how we evaluate candidates," another said. "This bias harms the company and discourages talented employees." After a long discussion, the board made their decision. They voted to override Mr. Carter's choice and promote Maya. They also agreed to start a review of company policies to ensure fairness and fight gender bias in the future. Mr. Carter was told he would face consequences for his behavior. The company planned leadership training and promised to create a more inclusive environment. When Maya received the news, she was overwhelmed with relief and pride. Her perseverance had paid off. She wasn't just getting a promotion, she was becoming a symbol of change. The company's culture wouldn't change overnight, but this moment marked a turning point. Maya's courage had opened the door for herself and others who had been held back by bias. The day of the promotion announcement felt almost unreal to Maya. The entire company gathered in the conference room, the air buzzing with curiosity and excitement. When the CEO stepped up to the podium and called Maya's name, applause filled the room. For the first time, Maya stood at the front, not just as a team member but as a leader. As she accepted the promotion, a flood of emotions washed over her: relief, pride, and gratitude. Years of hard work, silent struggles, and quiet determination had finally been recognized. But more than that, it was a victory against the barriers she and many women had faced for far too long. In the weeks that followed, the company began to change. The board pushed forward with new policies aimed at creating fairness in promotions and hiring. Leadership training included lessons on unconscious bias, and a diversity committee was formed to listen to employees' concerns. Maya was invited to join, becoming a voice for those who still felt unseen. Though the road ahead remained challenging, these small steps felt significant. Maya often thought about the journey, the moments of doubt, the hurt, and the quiet strength that kept her going. She realized how important it was to speak up, even when it felt risky or uncomfortable. Her courage hadn't just changed her own path, it had opened doors for others who would come after. Maya knew this wasn't the end of the fight. Gender bias wasn't something that disappeared overnight. But the company's decision showed that change was possible. It showed that people could recognize their mistakes and work to do better. As she looked around the office, seeing more women stepping into roles they deserved, Maya felt hopeful. Hopeful that the future would hold fewer barriers, more understanding, and true equality. Her story was a reminder that resilience matters, that sometimes standing up isn't easy, but it can change everything. And so Maya kept moving forward, not just as a leader, but as a symbol of hope for every woman waiting for her chance.